so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4.
What's happening around you? Hear about state events, businesses, and from the people behind them on the Megacast, an hour-long TV, radio, and streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Listen in on talks with volunteer groups, documentarians, and financial advisors, Monday to Friday with your host, Tyler Kieft. Catch the Megacast weekdays from 10 a.m. to 11 on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and streaming on mymytv.com. Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to civiccentertv.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Wake up, Greater West Bloomfield. Start your mornings with The Splash and tune in for The Splash Live. Get acquainted with people, places, and activities that are live, local, and for you. First thing in the morning, weekdays at 9:30 a.m. on our Civic Center TV YouTube page, or watch us live at Civic Center TV or on Facebook. The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's live update show.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Hey Laker fans, do you know a friend or neighbor that volunteers in Greater West Bloomfield? We would love to help you recognize them at the 51st Annual Michigan Week Awards. Countless members of the communities of Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and West Bloomfield give their time and talent daily without regard for recognition. You can help recognize these individuals and organizations at our awards breakfast next year on May 12th, 2023. Nominate your neighbor or organization starting January 28th, 2023. Go to michiganweek.org for details.
Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. We are delighted at this time to welcome along some of our other broadcast partners. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us on the Megacast. I'm Dave Scott, in for Tyler Kieft today. It is great to have you with us, joining us on all of our partner sites and partner radio stations like the Biff on 89.3 Lakes FM, of course, on Civic Center TV and our other community television channels, and of course, all across the internet on this Wednesday morning. So we got the Thanksgiving holiday right ahead of us, and there's so much going on. We're going to get together with family and enjoy each other's company, of course, watch a little bit of football, socialize a little bit, maybe with some people we've not seen for a while, and enjoy some reasonably good weather with temperatures up in the 50s or so. Unbelievable. So we've got a really nice couple of days ahead of us. Hopefully you'll have some time to enjoy, get ready for whatever your holiday religions and customs are around your house, and have a great time. And I know most houses also have that one really special dish that you make that you wouldn't get in any restaurant or see anywhere else, or maybe have at somebody else's house. So in my family, we have one too. It isn't the healthiest thing, I'll tell you right out of the box, but it is really good. And it is a recipe that came from the Dilworth Inn in Boyne City in northern Michigan, where my family also spends an awful lot of time. It's called tomato pudding. And you look at that and you go, tomato, yeah, that tomato pudding, that doesn't sound very good, but it really is great. It's a bread pudding with tons of brown sugar in it and some tomato puree. And, everybody that we feed it to that comes over to our family's place for Thanksgiving always really enjoys it. So whatever your family traditions are, I hope that you enjoy getting together with everybody. Coming up on the program today, we're going to talk to our good friend Dave Lorenz from Travel, Michigan. Boy, I tell you what, just like that, we went from summer to fall to winter, especially in the parts of the state of Michigan where we enjoy our winter sports, like up in northern Michigan, Boyne Mountain, Nubbs Knob, Shaney Creek, Shush Mountain, all those places, and more treetops. I'm sure I'm missing a few, are loaded with snow after all the snow we had from that big lake effect snowstorm. And then the snowmobile trails are loaded up, cross country skiing. So I'm sure a lot of people, after they get together on Thursday with the family, are going to head out and enjoy some winter sports. Dave Lorenz, he is the guy that puts the whole Travel Michigan campaign together. We're going to talk to him about getting ready for the winter sports season and just get the latest on travel here in the state of Michigan. Dave Dulio, professor of political science and the director of civic engagement at Oakland University, also checks in with us today. And, Tyler shouldn't have taken the day off because he knows I love politics. So I can only imagine where Dave and I are going to go, given everything that's going on nationally and right here in the state of Michigan. We'll keep it friendly. We'll keep it really positive and with a smile on our face, but that's coming up in a couple of minutes. Joining us right now from the Birmingham Maple Clinic is Carrie Krawick. And Carrie, thank you very much for joining us this morning right here on the Megacast.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get into your area of expertise and why we have you, do you have you heard that dish, the tomato pudding thing in my family. Do you have something in your family or something you like to prepare special for the holidays?
One thing my mom brings to every single party she goes to is deviled eggs. So I've taken on that tradition. And if we're ever a guest anywhere, we always bring a plate of deviled eggs.
See, and that's the thing also that I do. So I relate to that because my mom is not with us anymore. And she was the tomato pudding maker. And there's no written recipe for this dish. We just, and I asked my mom, where's the recipe? She said, no, it's a dash of this and a dash of that. And she showed me how to make it. And, and I'm the standard bearer in my family of only one thing, and that is the making of the tomato pudding. And it sounds like you're the deviled egg person in your family.
That's right.
Well, families being such as they are, we have a lot of issues going on in all of our families and social situations. And, some family gatherings are stressful and complex. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Why is that? Is it just, with just any social activity is going to be that way? Or is there something about the holidays and families that makes this even more challenging for some of us and at some occasions?
Well, there's probably a couple different layers to it. This Thanksgiving in particular, people haven't been face to face with some of the guests, maybe in a couple of years. So it would be the first time people are reuniting. Family's more complicated because, unlike social media where there's that sort of veil of anonymity and you might not see anybody again, with family, you're not just saying your feelings, but you also may be touching into some relationship issues or dynamics, people who feel underrepresented or other people who feel controlled or, not meeting expectations. And so you have additional layers of maybe disappointment, frustration, guilt that tack on to already subjects that are hot button just in the general public.
Well, Carrie, you already said a mouthful. You got some interest from me right away. Let's talk about the traditional roles in families and how they play out as we get older. So a very good friend of mine said that she is the baby in her family and she's got a very big family. I'm the baby in my family, and I got great siblings. They're absolutely incredible. But once you're the baby in the family, I don't care how old you get, how successful you are, whatever you accomplish in your life, you're still, at least from my perspective, I still kind of feel like I'm the baby of the family.
Well, I think it's so funny you mentioned that, and of course, now I am an oldest in my family, and I married an oldest, and both of his parents are oldest, so we have a lot of oldest around our table, and maybe only a few babies. I've got two myself, so we've got one oldest there, and so those things do play out. Of course, everybody has their perspective of who has it harder, which crosses there are to bear. I think at this time of year, when we talk about unpleasant feelings and the things that get evoked with the holidays, the two that come to mind are guilt and resentment. So guilt is the feeling that we've done something to, disappoint or hurt or inconvenience someone else, whereas resentment is the feeling that someone's done that to us. And I know you said we'll be having great weather this weekend, which is nice, but I liken guilt and resentment to sort of like driving on a snowy road. We often fishtail from one to the other. So when we feel guilt, we may take on more to try to, make ourselves feel better or make us feel like we're meeting someone else's expectations. And once we've taken on too much, we start to feel resentment. We start to compare, say, I'm working harder, I'm doing more, I'm doing more than anybody else is. And then we start to feel resentment, and people tend to go back and forth between those. And it's really hard to just kind of stay straight. I often say, like, driving in the snow, the best thing to do is kind of take your hands off and just wait for the spin to stop.
Well, you do need to relax, and you're right, Carrie Craywick, therapist from of course I've got it right here, the Birmingham Maple Clinic. You've said it so well. There's no question about that, and especially in family, because and especially these days, we've had COVID, we've had all kinds of special circumstance. We've had some people that feel very strongly about one approach for COVID, and others that feel another way. You may have maskers and non-maskers, vaxxers and non-vaxxers. And, these days people tend to dig their heels in pretty deep on these issues, and they can just, forget politics. I'll get to that in a minute. But, just sitting around with the family, even on some of these things, you can sometimes, have people that in the family that have a very different perspective on the way the world works or should works, that is diametrically opposed to your thoughts, and that you shouldn't, but sometimes that can start some conversations that can build.
Absolutely. And so I think one thing, if you're a host this year or if you're attending a family gathering, is to think about, right, there might be topics that feel sort of automatically off limits because they're going to evoke some feelings in other people. But often some of them are really subtle and you may not know what you're tapping into. So first, probably plan ahead with some topics that you feel comfortable, maybe what shows you've watched this year, if there's someone that you think might benefit from a series you've seen or a book you've read, to try to start to evoke some conversations and have them like landing pads, safe places where you can go in the event something goes strange, to bring things back to a lighter place. But you never really know. And I think, also as a host or a guest, you really have to think you cannot make rules for other people, that you really just need to focus on the rules you can make for yourself. Because again, like with resentment, if you try to make rules for other people and they push back, you're all going to end up upset. But make some rules for yourself. If there's a topic you don't like or you want to stay away from, then truly stay away from it and honor the boundaries you've set. And if you need to excuse yourself to take a walk outside or maybe bring up a game or something light, if something's going in a direction you don't feel comfortable, you be the leader to invite another opportunity. Instead of saying stop or I don't want to hear this or something kind of more aggressive, come up with a gentle way to either excuse and take care of yourself or invite others to join you to do something else.
Well, and one thing, and I grew up around a family of really beautiful people, and my parents and all of my parents' friends were just so nourishing and great, lovely, wonderful people. But we still had a couple of things here and there to deal with. That said, one of the ways that they always started out a conversation, especially when the adults were talking to the kids, they asked us questions. They asked about what's going on in our lives. They really, truly wanted to know. But it's always a good default position, isn't it? Get people to start talking, and that will relieve a lot of opportunity for conflict.
Absolutely. I think that curiosity and compassion are our two best friends when it comes to relationships. And even if there is someone who has a different point of view than you, or someone you'd like to perhaps learn a little bit about their perspective, if it comes up on Thanksgiving Day or during the holidays, perhaps invite them not at that moment to discuss it, but at a different setting. Let's get together over coffee in 2 weeks. I'd love to hear how you grew to learn this state of mind, or what things inform you, not with the emphasis on trying to change them, but really, like you said, coming from questions, like I said, curiosity and compassion are really a kind way to get to know someone, and get to know someone now, if it's someone you haven't seen for many years, and just develop intimacy and a bond, rather than trying to change a position or force a method of, or a preference. Those are not kind.
Yeah, you're not going to convince your brother or your sister or your in-laws, if you're a Democrat and they're a Republican, you're not going to change their political views on Thursday. So you make a really, really good point. So let me just ask you, maybe you can give us a tool here, Carrie. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. So if somebody says something to you that you're diametrically opposed to, it goes to your very soul, you totally disagree with them. You got that magic line that you can bring out of your hip pocket. So you could say something, get yourself out of the situation, and not look like a total puss either at the same time. What do you do with that?
Right. So, I think preparation over panic. So first think ahead. Is there a certain amount of time that you're sort of good for? Like,
Right.
if so show up early and maybe leave early, or have a reason, have maybe another party to hop off to, kind of know your limits and know, okay, like after a certain amount of time or a certain number of grading comments, I'm really not going to be able to hold it together, and plan ahead for that. So know when to excuse yourself, know when to excuse your family, have perhaps a code word, with your spouse or significant other, so that when it's time to go, you can sort of subtly, kind of wink and nod, and hey, we're getting out of here, without much of a fuss. So plan ahead first, of course. Plan ahead your own rest the night before, drinking water throughout the day, getting some exercise and some time outdoors, certainly avoiding an abundance of alcohol. Those are things that are all going to help you. So preparation over panic there. In the moment, I think it's exactly that. If you're noticing a change in your body, certainly your temperature, flushed face, tense hands, clenched mouth, any sign that you're not relaxed, it's probably a time to excuse yourself and get calm, even if you need to say something or address that person. To wait until you've calmed slightly. Doing it in that hot moment, when your fists are tight, your shoulders are tight, your mouth is tight, is only gonna inflame the situation more.
All right. Well, I advise that if you have family that are Buffalo Bills fans, don't go to their house. Just don't go. And then you can go somewhere else. Then you can watch the football game. You got 4 hours, and this year the Lions are going to be really good, regardless of what happens. Having that sports moment. It sounds crazy, but it really does create some really nice bonding to have something like a game on television to watch that can occupy some of the conversation and give everybody a common thread. And there's probably other things, other tools that we can introduce to the festivities like that get the focus off of, are you a Trump person or a Biden person, and get it on something else.
Well, I think absolutely. And I think with the spirit of curiosity, now certain families are different in their degree of openness, and maybe perhaps some are a little too much, too open, overshare, whereas some are so quiet. But there's so much to be gained by, like you said, even learning, where did this recipe come from, and why did it get introduced on Thanksgiving? Or what were your mother's, father's, grandparents' recipes? Going back in time can help create that thread. So even when there's division now, what are the things that we're connected by, right? So we're connected by tradition, we're connected by rules. Why do we watch the game? Or why do we serve dinner at 11 and other families serve it at 4 on Thanksgiving? How did these things come to be? If you can come not from a judgmental place, but really just a genuine curiosity, you may learn something that helps make something else make sense. You know, even in these political times, you know, we say, I just don't know how someone could feel that way. And you say, well, it turns out their family were business owners or in real estate. They say, oh, well, then maybe that makes sense that they're aligned to this perspective over something else, or, you know, one way or the other. So, you know, it might seem like you just can't understand someone. Go back in time and try to find where there's some connection. You might learn something that connects you more than you had thought.
You know, and our tradition and our culture has changed, certainly. I think we become, as a society here in the United States, just a little bit more aggressive than maybe we were a generation or two or three ago. But I know in my family that, you know, my parents and my grandparents, they'd have their little disputes, you know, so this is nothing new that is exclusive to our generation. You know, just you know, follow the leadership of Miss Manners, right? Just try to be nice and polite. And I think, I don't know, you're the expert, but I just think if you just make a little effort and you're conscious about not wanting to get everybody aggravated, and you try to be nice, you probably have a better time.
Absolutely. I think, like, you're right. I mean, society has changed, and in some ways, with every benefit comes a consequence of anything. And so, you know, where we have many advances in technology and even advances in point of views, that also comes with a downside. And so, just keeping that in mind, in many ways, like you said, we're more permissive, we're more accepting of a variety of different social, you know, scenarios. But the downside of that is we're also exposed to a lot more that's perhaps different than what we've known. And it takes a lot of work and effort to be accepting and tolerant, in addition to also feeling like there's also a space for yourself and your identity. So everyone's kind of like vying for position. But if instead you can see, well, the real benefit here is that we've allowed ourselves to be exposed to so much more. And like you said, that being said, you know, we've maybe permit things that we wouldn't allow before. You know, there was generations before where you would never share who you voted for,
Right.
and that was completely private. And now we share everything, and maybe in ways we share too much, and there would be okay to return to say, hey, some of these informations are private and meant to be kept within a household or just in a person's own heart.
Carrie Craywick, thank you very much for joining us from the Birmingham Maple Clinic. I see your URL was on the your website information was on the screen here a moment or two ago, and it's back there right now. You want to take an opportunity and tell people about your organization and how they can access your services.
So Birmingham Maple Clinic is a outpatient therapy practice that's been in the community for over 30 years. There's 30 therapists, probably 4 or 5 psychiatrists, and a staff of people that help with billing and insurance to make it all very clear and easy. So we have therapists that span a range of issues, from ADHD to eating disorders, to family issues, loss, depression, anxiety, pretty much you name the mental health concern. We have somebody at our clinic trained as an expert in that field or discipline.
All right, Carrie. Well, thank you for joining us and taking time to join us on the MegaCast. A very important subject as we head into the next couple of days with a lot of family. Good to be with you, and I can't wait to try. It was your deviled eggs, right? And I'll save a little bowl of tomato pudding for you. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Have a nice Thanksgiving. Thank you for having me.
You too. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Tyler Keefe is off today. I'm Dave Scott, and delighted in a moment or two to be able to speak to the vice president of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the guy who runs Travel Michigan. It's Dave Lorenz, and we're going to talk travel in our state in just a moment. You are watching the MegaCast.
Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
My Michigan TV is streaming everywhere on Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and more smart TV apps. My Michigan TV is on your phone too. Take us with you wherever you go. Just search for My Michigan TV on your favorite app store or visit mymitv.com. All Michigan, streaming everywhere. My Michigan TV.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the Megacast. Tyler Keith is off today. I'm Dave Scott. Awful good to be with you as we head into this amazing Thanksgiving weekend. Let's see, we got good weather, temperatures in the 50s. Get out and enjoy some time with your family. It's going to be great for travel. We don't have that headache, so that's good news wherever you happen to be traveling. And we got two amazing football games, Michigan, Ohio State on Saturday, and the Detroit Lions playing tomorrow against the Buffalo Bills. And, you know, Sports Talk Radio says we might even win this thing. So, hey, this is going to be a lot of fun. The Lions with 3 wins in a row. What is there not to be happy about? And making things even better, joining us now, my friend Dave Lorenz from Travel Michigan. Dave, good morning and welcome to the Megacast.
Hey, good morning. Good to be with you, Dave. I'm wondering if those Buffalo folks just stayed here since last Sunday. Didn't they play Sunday in Detroit?
Well, they did. That was really a nice travel opportunity for the Metro Detroit area. They had that huge snowstorm out there. They couldn't play at home. I heard some of the players even had to have local people dig them out. And and they got dug out. They got here. I imagine there were some people some extra heads in beds, as you guys like to say in the business, at our Metro Detroit hotels. I mean, why not just stay for a couple of football games? So hopefully that was the case.
Well, it certainly helped us, at least for the weekend in Detroit, having that extra game that we hadn't anticipated. So that's always a big deal. You know, sports travel, sports tourism is a big deal all throughout the country, all throughout the world, really. And here in Michigan, we work with the sports folks in the various convention visitors bureaus and communities all around the state. In fact, we helped put together an organization called Pure Michigan Sports that allows the local communities to band together to go to these big shows where folks who manage sporting events decide where to hold them. I mean, everything from, you know, the Super Bowl to dart tournaments, they offer everything. And it's a big business. It's a growing business, especially for those youth league sports, something that can benefit local communities all the way to the biggest cities. It's just one of the really interesting things in the travel world where most people don't even know that we're working in those areas, things like sports travel or group travel or maybe meetings, conference, convention travel. Because when we talk, we're usually talking about leisure travel that most people always want to do. And it's a big, big, big business, of course.
Well, all you got to do is go to any hotel anywhere in the state of Michigan and on a weekend. And I don't know if there's a certain time of year, there probably is. And you'll see all these moms and dads and a whole trail of kids with these big, huge bags of sports equipment dragging along. And, it's hockey tournaments, it's soccer tournaments. There's so much of that. And that just gets so many people coming here. We're a great state for that. And, I think it's the Detroit Sports Commission that we have down here, a very similar organization that puts on a big high school football tournament at the beginning of the year at Wayne State that people in West Bloomfield and our viewers are very familiar with. So absolutely. And it's just another, just put another chip on the table. It's just another way to help our economy grow and do well here in Michigan.
Absolutely true. Well, the Detroit Sports Commission made the official announcement yesterday. We had a couple of day advance, but the NCAA Final Four is going to be coming to Detroit in 2027. You know, that's how far out they plan these things. Actually, it was 27, 28, 29, and 30, I think, that they made announcements for. So to think that the Final Four is coming to Detroit with those tens of thousands of people who will follow them is an awesome thing. And it's great for the initial business that happens, because we do sell a lot of hotel nights and all the other things that people like to do when they come in for a big tournament like that. Restaurants and retail and attractions and going into museums and all that, because it's not just about the basketball in this case. But the greatest thing, the thing that we generally don't even really talk about very much, is the fact that a lot of these folks will have never seen Detroit before. And they're going to have too often these negative perceptions, because, that's what we're always dealing with, these old, out of date perceptions about Michigan in general, but specifically about Detroit. And we always try to tell the world, hey, Detroit's gone through some really bad times, but these last 15 years of constant growth, constant movement, constant attention to community and trying to bring everybody together for a better future is an awesome thing. And people need to see what's happening in Detroit. And I'll extend that invitation, that message out to everyone watching and listening today, because even here in Michigan, Dave, in fact, probably it's a bigger problem for Michigan residents. Michigan residents who haven't been to Detroit recently, such a frustrating thing for me. They need to get out there and see what's really happening in Detroit today. It is unbelievably cool. And
well, I think we had a really good buzz going on in Detroit. And as you know, I'm a Metro Detroiter. And, even getting the Metro Detroiters to spend more time downtown, in addition to inviting people from Grand Rapids and Flint and Kalamazoo and the other spots. But, we were really on fire, and I think everybody knew it. And COVID really set back a number of those local entrepreneurs, people who started up restaurants and some of these smaller businesses. And because every week I would go downtown and there's something new. And that slowed up for a little bit, but I think it's come back in a huge way now. And there is an awesome buzz in the city of Detroit. And, I've spent my whole life here. 20 years ago, I would have said, ain't going to happen. But it's for real. It's for real. And I travel around the country a lot. I feel it when I go to other places.
Yeah, and I hear it everywhere where I go as well. And whenever we bring a big group, either, the Pure Michigan efforts or Visit Detroit or whomever's bringing these big groups, or even individual travelers to Detroit, I hear it all the time. I mean, we get either emails or calls, or, people will go online on our social media and they'll just say, hadn't been to Detroit for a long time and couldn't believe how cool it is. The imagery and whatever you share is real. We hear the same thing all over the state. And isn't it a shame that those of us who live here tend to kind of stay in our own little communities? We don't really go out that much. And when we do, we typically go to the places we've always been to before, and normally in the summertime. So here we are, we're coming into winter. We really want you to get out there and enjoy winter. And the only way you're going to really enjoy it is by getting outside, throwing on a coat, put on some gloves, and get out there and enjoy winter. Because cold is cool if you allow it to be. If you just get out there and be part of it, just do it as what Nike folks or whatever say. Just get out there and do something. You don't have to be a big adventure skier or an ice climber or a dog sledder or whatever. Just going out for a walk or a hike, or maybe cross-country skiing. And then maybe that'll get you into other things. You never know what might happen. So thrilled to tell you, Dave, that the Winter Pure Michigan campaign is out there. We just started it. We've got a couple of new TV ads that are on the Hallmark Channel of all things this winter. Really thrilled about that. That's holiday season. And one of the other things we're trying to get people to do, besides just kind of generally traveling this winter in Pure Michigan, is we want people to support their local businesses more so than ever. Because the interesting thing is, people think that the bad times for retailers and restaurants have all passed us by. It was all during the COVID period. That's not totally true, because we're still having a lot of challenges. During the pandemic, and now even in the endemic time period, a lot of folks left work, and then a lot of them have never come back. So things are slow to come back. And so it's been hard for people to accept the fact that things have changed a bit. when you go to a restaurant, it might take you a little bit longer to get in there and to enjoy what you're going to enjoy. But we still want you to do that, because over time, if we support these restaurants and retailers and attractions and destinations all around the state, you're going to help build them back. You're going to help those businesses get stronger. You're going to help employees get another reason to come back and give them their jobs back, and society will come back into play. It'll happen. So Pure Michigan is doing all we can to tell that story.
Absolutely. And people we got to just relax a little bit, just be a little understanding. In your business, I know in mine, it's difficult to get all the employees that we need. So when you go into a restaurant and it's crowded, as it's going to be, over the holiday season, when you go to Northern Michigan, these establishments, they have their peak time, and you go to Mackinac Island on the 4th of July, you go to Traverse City on the 4th of July, expect it to be a little bit busy. It's just, it's part of the, I embrace the fun. But I want to just go back to the video that we have right now on the website. And you guys just you always do such a great job with your media and the Pure Michigan campaign, your amazing video. And this stuff, I would say, is kind of easy to sell, but you make it look easy. And when something is hard and you can make it look easy, you're really accomplishing something. I mean, look at this amazing content you have here.
It's beautiful. And Dave, here's the surprising thing. I do it all. I do 100% of this all myself.
I know.
So, our staff is so incredible. You look at our internal staff of our writers and our videographers and the people who plan the marketing elements, and our folks who do the e-newsletters and the website development. They're so talented. And frankly, I don't know any of this stuff. I just kind of manage the office. And then we work with MMGY Global out of Detroit. They do this fantastic job putting all this creative together. So it's neat to work with all these really talented people, but it wouldn't be possible, it wouldn't be successful unless the product was as it is. In other words, the experience is as we present it. We tell the truth from our perspective. And then that other element of the kind of the triangle of success, I call it, because you have, a successful, plan, you have successful team. You also have the kind of the product, but you need the people to present that product and to be the hospitable people that we know they can be, to welcome travelers to our communities. So when you get all that working together, that's how you build a sustainable future for travel and tourism, which then leads us to a successful economy for the state. Because travel and tourism is so much more important than people seem to realize.
Yeah, well,
we're
it's
a
right
manufacturing state. Yeah, we're huge, manufacturing, agriculture, and tourism.
The other piece of it, and I mean, I know your staff and I know the people, and I work with the Convention and Visitors Bureaus when I'm not doing this kind of stuff and sitting in for Tyler. So I know that whole network of people, and they're all amazing and they all really care. And I applaud you for assembling a great team, and our communities are doing the same thing. But there's one other little piece of it. When you're walking around town and you're in downtown Detroit and you run into somebody who might be here, from New York or Washington or down south, and they're visiting our community. I always kind of enjoy being an ambassador for the state of Michigan too, and talking up, because when they're visiting, they've invested in coming here. They're pretty excited about the product. You don't buy a new car and then say, geez, I really hate that thing. The people that come here, they want to be excited and happy about their choice to come to Michigan, and it's always fun. Every one of us can be an ambassador for travel when we're out and about.
It's so important for us to realize that. And you're right to mention our destination marketing and management organizations out there, the Convention Visitors Bureaus. In the local communities, they do so much to help the communities grow and prosper, and to really make it a place not just for travelers, not just for visitors, but you have to realize that the amenities, the attractions, the events that they put together, and that they work with the local community to put together. They're great for the community, but they wouldn't be around unless we had all those travelers helping to support that. And then before you know it, we get to enjoy all these things every day. I mean, it's incredible what we have to offer in this 4-season state with these innovative, resilient people that surround us. Yeah, I am really excited about the next couple of years, although they will continue to have their challenges. We will continue to have to struggle through certain things like getting workforce back, getting workforce affordable housing put into play. And then there are folks at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, at MISTA, at the state and local levels that are working on those issues. And as we bring all this together, Dave, man, look at the future. The future is bright. We've been through such a difficult time, but we have a future ahead of us that's looking great. And as we approach Thanksgiving very soon, we can be very thankful for all of that.
We can indeed. So we talked about the small businesses. We've talked about the DMOs, as we call them, the CVBs, and everyone doing their part. Let's talk about a couple of just two developments here that stand out. And then I know you got to get zipping along. But the one really big piece of news that came out this last week is this huge new water park that's going to be built in Frankenmuth. I know you know all about it. What can you tell us about that development and just the impact that that will have on Frankenmuth and travel in that part of the state?
Yeah, well, I was always so happy to work with my old friend Judy, who passed away just recently from Bavarian Inn. And what the family has done there over the years to create one of the two biggest family-held restaurants in the country, right across the street from each other, is pretty incredible. And then I always try to explain to people that the first water park in Michigan that we could really call a water park was probably Bavarian Inn. I've never really heard them describe it in that way in the past, because they're really they're a hotel, they're a tremendous restaurant, all that Bavarian themed, but they're a real entertainment venue in a lot of ways. And I've always liked their form of a water park. So now as they go into this, I think it's an $80 million investment to expand, they'll become Michigan's biggest water park, which is pretty exciting. When you think about all the other really cool water parks around the state, it adds another element, another reason to come to Frankenmuth and to come to the state. We have another big water park coming. It's just going to really help. And you look at that beautiful property with that Bavarian theme. They're proud of their Germanic heritage in Frankenmuth, and it's probably best understood when you go to Bavarian Inn, when you see those folks wearing those traditional, Bavarian themed type of attire. It's a tremendous experience. And even when you go into the rooms at the hotel there, all of the rooms tell a story about a local family whose heritage is Germanic. It's really awesome. They have pictures and stories, and I always read those stories, and I always love them.
That's so much fun, and it's
cool
amazing work that's gone on there. And then let's talk about another family. It's had a huge impact on tourism, and that's the Kircher family, and what's happened up at Boyne. And Stephen Kircher's carried on the tradition of his father, both very entrepreneurial in different ways, but absolutely amazing. And what they've done with their new wood suspension bridge at Boyne. Absolutely brilliant. They started building that thing and I was scratching my head. What? And then the weekend that it opened, you couldn't find a place to park anywhere on the property. They were jam-packed, and it wasn't just opening weekend. They've come upon a way to figure out to take what they have and make it more interesting and better. And kudos to Stephen Kircher and the crew at Boeing.
Absolutely. Everett Kircher would be very proud of what Steve and the family and the team has done there at the Boyne USA properties here in Michigan. Boyne is a huge organization, the second biggest ski company in America. People probably don't know a lot about that because you just know about Boyne Mountain, about the Highlands, about the other properties in the Petoskey area. But it's awesome to see what they're doing there. So in addition to all these expansions that they've made at Boyne Mountain, they've got the zip line and, of course, all the beautiful skiing and golfing the other time of the year that you get to enjoy there. The water park that they have, Avalanche Bay, is astounding. The food options are incredible. And now they've built the world's largest, longest wooden suspension bridge of its kind.
There it is. I don't know if you can see it in your
awesome.
screen, but there it is.
Yeah.
A recent shot with snow on it, Dave. And oh my gosh. And people just, everyone I talk to that's been there just loves it. I mean, really, really good idea. So,
yeah, Stephen told me about this early on, showed me the plans, and I thought, are you sure? Man, that's a huge investment. And, it just shows you why I can never be a good independent businessman myself, because he had this vision and it's coming together.
Dave Lorenz, I'm running long. We got to talk politics here before we go, or Tyler will get very upset with me for not executing his game plan. Thank you. I could talk to you all day. We really appreciate you being with us. Dave Lorenz, Travel, Michigan. Keep up the good work. Real quickly before you go, is there one family dish I've been asking everybody today that your family has that's unique to your Thanksgiving celebration?
Oh, my wife makes the best stuffing in the world, honest to goodness, and great green beans, string beans. Oh man. I have to tell you, it's incredible.
All right. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, Dave. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
We're going to be back in just a minute. When we return, we are going to talk politics with the folks from Oakland University. And that's coming up right next, after this on the Megacast.
What's happening around you? Hear about state events, businesses, and from the people behind them on the Megacast, an hour-long TV, radio, and streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Listen in on talks with volunteer groups, documentarians, and financial advisors, Monday to Friday with your host, Tyler Keefe. Catch the Megacast weekdays from 10 a.m. to 11 on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and streaming on mymytv.com. Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to civiccentertv.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Good morning and welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Dave Scott in for Tyler Keefe. Good to have you with us as we get ready for our Thanksgiving holiday. Joining us now is Dave Dulio, the professor of political science and director of the Center for Civic Engagement, should be civil engagement right now, civic engagement at Oakland University. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay, this is not fair because I can't do this in 10 minutes because we need an hour to talk politics. But I wake up this morning and I look at CNN and their webpage and they say, well, Biden just turned 80 and here are all the people that would likely run for president if he decides not to. And right there on the list, smack dab in the middle of the picture, is our governor.
Yeah, I think that should President Biden decide not to run for re-election, I think Democrats will go through the list of potentials, and that obviously includes names that folks that follow politics are well aware of. Certainly, the Vice President Kamala Harris. You get to Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. Some U.S. senators like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Cory Booker, right? And then I think a lot of Democrats would say, well, okay, those are fine, but haven't we seen them before? And maybe looking for new blood would be a really good option, something that Republicans are also probably going to, a decision that they're going to face this next time around. So it's no surprise that Governor Whitmer, somebody who just won re-election in a competitive, important presidential state, just won re-election by 10 points.
Well, no question about it. The governorship has always been a good step to the presidency. We've seen that in many cases. And especially in this environment, Dave, I'd like your thoughts on this. I mean, governors tend to be outside the beltway a little bit. Okay, so maybe that's part of it, especially in this environment, which makes them a little bit more attractive.
I think that's right, and it wouldn't be the first time that we see somebody run for a position in Washington by running against Washington, right? I think
Right.
we could probably script the Whitmer campaign announcement speech, right? And talking about being focused on Michigan and focused outside the Beltway and all of that sort of thing. So again, I think that the more you think about it, the more of a good option for Democrats she becomes.
Democrats win really big here in Michigan in the last election. And is that something because of the national wave and all the national issues, or is that more related to issues here in Michigan and our Michigan campaigns and our Michigan people and candidates?
Yeah, I think that there's a tendency to try and put election results in a big bucket, right? And I think that that's problematic. I think election results are usually more localized, and they come about for reasons that we can look at closer to the sort of epicenter, if you will, of those elections. And I think there are two main factors that really explain the results that we saw in Michigan. And the first one of those is very simply candidates matter. We saw some Republicans win nominations in the primary season that were simply unelectable in a general election. And, that is up and down the ticket. The other one is the presence of the abortion issue literally on the ballot, right? But also with such a focus of the Whitmer campaign early on, Whitmer campaign and its allies, actually, and the injection of that issue so deeply into the sort of politics of the time, I think really mattered, and that explains election results, I think, that we saw that were really surprising, not really outlandish, right? That Governor Whitmer and the Attorney General and Secretary of State would win re-election. But you go over to Macomb County and John James just squeaking by in a race where his opponent, Carl Marlinga, was underfunded, didn't have near the reach that John James did in terms of paid media. And John James wins by about half a point, right? I think that, and in addition to that, Governor Whitmer carries the Macomb County countywide, right? Those things to me are explained by the fact that the abortion issue brought out folks this time around who may not have voted otherwise.
You mentioned Macomb County. Is Macomb County still a national bellwether county where people all over the country look at what happened in Macomb County and say, that's a trend? We can observe a trend by what's happening in that very important Michigan county.
I'm not sure it's a bellwether anymore, but boy, it's fascinating. And I think that there are going to be a lot of eyeballs on Macomb County in the next 2, 4, heck, 10 years, right? Because in the last several election cycles, I would have pointed to Macomb County as a Republican county, one that was where Republicans had tons of successes, not just at the presidential level, but up and down the ballot. And then 2022 comes along and it kind of throws a wrench into that. So I think that folks are going to look at Macomb as just a fascinating example of how U.S. politics can change and manifest itself.
Who is the Republican rock star now in Michigan? It seems like there's always somebody that you look at. Do you have one, or is that just too hard to tell after this election?
Boy, that's a great question. And I think Republicans are searching for that person themselves, right? I think, this is going to be a fascinating campaign to be GOP state party chair. And you see Matt DePerno throw his hat in the ring. You see Tudor Dixon talk about it. I'm waiting for somebody from, the more establishment wing of the party to make an announcement or to try and challenge those folks that have been more a part of the discussion in recent months. But I don't really think that there is one. There's no clear heir apparent, and if you had one, or if we came up with some names, Brian Calley, Candace Miller, right? I think they would probably take a pass, which I think says something about the politics and the state of the Republican Party at the moment.
And I think, you mentioned two people, and I don't want to inject my opinions here too much, but, you inject a couple of names of people that have been there and done that. And, and then you look at Tudor Dixon, and there was a relatively new name for a lot of people in the state of Michigan. But it just seems in politics, it's so hard once you have not succeeded and won to run for a significant office again. You got to run for U.S. Senate or do something very different. Very different. Don't you think it'd be like almost impossible for her to go back and run for governor again?
Well, maybe. Right. I think,
okay. Maybe
the
not.
next one's 4 years away, which, as you know, is
an eternity,
multiple lifetimes in politics, right? And we did just have John James, who had run unsuccessfully for U.S. Senate twice, win that U.S. House seat, and maybe that's what you mean by do something different. Well,
right.
It also depends on just how these next few years go. I think in American politics these days, in Michigan politics these days, it's less predictable now than maybe it's ever been.
Dave, just a moment more, and we'll spend some more time again on another date. Is Michigan still a big state on the national landscape? You see Pennsylvania and Arizona and Wisconsin and Ohio. But, is Michigan now decidedly blue, and are we not as critical of a state to the national landscape?
Absolutely not. I think that, a couple of those states, Pennsylvania and Arizona, are going to be known more for their wackiness than they are their substance, right? And I think Ohio is off the table as a competitive presidential state. That's a Republican state now. Florida may be as well.
Yeah, sure.
But I think it is a real mistake because I could see this happening, right? Democrats or other folks nationally interpreting the results in Michigan that would tell them that Michigan's now this solid blue state, and that's just not the case. If we look at the vote totals for state house and state senate across Michigan, we're still a 50-50 state. Yes, Governor Whitmer won by 10 points. And the other statewide offices were large margins, but those I think have to do more with candidate effects than they do the fundamentals of Michigan.
All right, Dave, I only got a minute left. Two quick questions, very quick answers. Are students still excited about getting into politics today?
No. How's that for you?
That doesn't surprise me. We could explore that on another date. And the most important question of the day: do you have a unique family dish that is prepared that is a little bit off the radar for Thanksgiving?
I wonder how off the radar it is, right? But my mom makes this. Well, I don't eat it, but the rest of my family does.
Sure.
This broccoli surprise that apparently is all the rage, but I don't get it.
I wouldn't get excited, about broccoli surprise either. You and I are in the same camp there. Dave, thank you very much. Let's get a cup of coffee sometime. I would enjoy getting to know you a little bit better. Thank you very much for your comments. I could talk politics with you over Thanksgiving, and I don't think you and I would get in a fight. We probably have no
Not
problem.
at all. I'll take you up on that cup of coffee. That'd be great.
All right, very good. He is Dave Dulio, professor of political science and director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University. Thank you very much for being a part of the Megacast. Have an absolutely fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. Enjoy the football, enjoy the family, enjoy the food, enjoy the nice weather. Couldn't stack up any better. Tyler and I will be back here live Monday morning. We'll see you then right here again on the Splash Live and the Megacast. Have a fantastic holiday.
Now the Great Lakes State has its own streaming TV network, My Michigan TV.